Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Learn English with Mephiz. Today, I want to take you on an unforgettable journey through time. This is the incredible true story of Cleopatra, the last queen of ancient Egypt. This is not just another history lesson. It is a powerful tale of drama, power, love, ambition, and unbreakable strength. Cleopatra was one of the most famous women who ever lived, and her life feels like an epic movie filled with twists, heartbreak, and courage. Sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing story. It is perfect for improving your English while you feel every emotion. I promise you will remember this one for a long time. Chapter 1. Cleopatra's early life more than 2,000 years ago, in the year 69 BCE. A baby girl was born in the magnificent city of Alexandria, Egypt. Her name was Cleopatra VII, and she would grow up to become a queen the world would never forget. But in the beginning, she was simply a little girl with big dreams shining in her eyes. Cleopatra was born into a royal family known as the Ptolemaic dynasty. This family had ruled Egypt for many years, yet they were not originally Egyptian. They came from Greece. Her ancestor, Ptolemy I, had been one of Alexander the Great's generals. After Alexander's death, he took the throne of Egypt, so Cleopatra's blood carried both Greek and Egyptian heritage. Her father was King Ptolemy XII. Historians are still unsure about her mother's exact identity, though many believe she may have been Cleopatra V. Little Cleopatra grew up inside a grand palace filled with luxury. Servants moved quietly around her. She wore beautiful clothes and received the finest education. Yet life inside the royal family was never truly peaceful. Danger always hung in the air. Family members fought bitterly for power, and sometimes they even killed one another to claim the crown. From a very young age, Cleopatra understood something important. Knowledge was real power. While most women of her time received little education, she studied with fierce determination. She learned many languages: Greek, Latin, Egyptian, and even Hebrew. People said she could speak at least 7 languages fluently. That was extremely rare, and it made her stand out like a bright star. Cleopatra was endlessly curious. She studied science, mathematics, literature, and politics. She did not want to be a queen who only wore a golden crown. She wanted to be wise, strong, and truly powerful. She also possessed another rare gift: charm. Her voice was said to be beautiful and captivating, a voice that could hold anyone's attention and touch their heart. But her childhood was not only filled with books and beauty. Her father, King Ptolemy XII, was not a strong ruler. Many Egyptians disliked him. They thought he was weak and wasted too much money. Sometimes the family even had to flee Egypt to stay safe. Cleopatra learned early that a ruler always had enemies. When she was around 14 years old, her world changed forever. Her mother disappeared. Some said she died. Others whispered she had been killed. Soon after, her father grew very sick. Cleopatra, still a teenager, began preparing herself for the throne. What made her different from other rulers was her deep love for Egypt. Even though her family came from Greece, she respected Egyptian traditions completely. She was the first Ptolemaic ruler to learn the Egyptian language, and she even presented herself as the goddess Isis, a powerful figure in Egyptian mythology. By the time Cleopatra became a young woman, she was ready to rule. But the path ahead would be filled with danger, both from inside her family and from outside forces. She knew she would need bravery, cleverness, and strength, and so her rise to power began. Chapter 2. Cleopatra becomes Queen. Cleopatra was no ordinary young woman. From the moment she was born, destiny seemed to point her toward the throne. Yet becoming queen was never simple. The road was full of danger, betrayal, and clever plans. When Cleopatra was 18 years old, her father, King Ptolemy XII, passed away. In his will, he declared that Cleopatra would rule Egypt, but not alone. She had to share the throne with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII, who was only 10 years old. In ancient Egypt, it was common for brothers and sisters to rule together, even when they were very young. Cleopatra did not want to share her power. She believed she was far more capable and intelligent than her little brother. She had spent years studying languages, history, and politics while he was still a child with no experience. She knew that if she wanted to protect Egypt and rule it properly, she needed full control. At first, she tried to work with her brother, but soon the advisors around him began plotting against her. These men did not like the idea of a strong, intelligent woman holding power. They preferred the young boy because he was easier to control. Cleopatra's life quickly became dangerous. She was forced to leave the royal palace and escape into the desert. Imagine the scene. Cleopatra, the rightful queen, walking through the hot, dry desert with only a few loyal followers. She had no palace, no army, and no throne, yet she refused to give up. While living in exile, she began making a careful plan. She knew she could not take back her throne alone. She needed powerful help, and she needed it fast. At that exact moment, a famous Roman general named Julius Caesar arrived in Egypt. Caesar was one of the most powerful and influential men in the world. Cleopatra saw a golden opportunity. She decided she must meet him, but she also knew she had to make a dramatic entrance. Walking into the palace normally would be impossible. Her enemies would stop her. So she created a bold and unforgettable plan. One night, Cleopatra asked her most loyal servant to wrap her inside a large carpet. The servant carried the carpet into Caesar's private rooms as a gift. When the carpet was unrolled, Cleopatra stepped out, looking stunning and full of quiet confidence. Caesar was completely surprised. This beautiful, intelligent young woman stood before him and spoke with charm and clear intelligence. She told him about her struggles, her deep love for Egypt, and her dreams of becoming a great queen. Caesar was impressed. He saw that Cleopatra was not only beautiful, she was brilliant and ambitious. He agreed to help her regain her throne. Together, they planned a way to defeat Ptolemy XIII and his advisors. Cleopatra's enemies stood no chance against the combined strength of the young queen and the Roman general. After a fierce battle, her brother was defeated, and Cleopatra was restored as the true queen of Egypt. But she was not satisfied with simply sitting on the throne. She wanted Egypt to become powerful and respected once again. She began working closely with Caesar, introducing new policies, improving trade, and building a strong relationship between Egypt and Rome. Chapter 3, Cleopatra and Julius Caesar. Cleopatra was now queen, yet her life remained full of storms. She had won her throne with Julius Caesar's help, but their story was never only about politics. It was also about love, ambition, and constant danger. After defeating her brother, Cleopatra became the most powerful person in Egypt. Still, she wanted more. She dreamed of making her country strong and respected across the world. Having Caesar beside her seemed the perfect way to achieve that dream. The two spent much time together. Cleopatra admired Caesar's strength, intelligence, and ability to lead armies. Caesar admired her beauty, her charm, and her sharp mind. Even though he was much older, around 52 while she was only 21, their connection grew deep and strong. Cleopatra invited Caesar to stay in Egypt, and he accepted. Together, they explored the beautiful city of Alexandria, sailed along the Nile River, and talked for hours about the future. Cleopatra showed him the rich culture and history of her land. Caesar was amazed. He realized Egypt was far more than deserts and pyramids. It was a wealthy, powerful country full of potential. During this time, Cleopatra became pregnant. In 47 BCE, she gave birth to a son. She named him Ptolemy Caesar, but people called him Caesarion, meaning Little Caesar. Cleopatra believed her son would one day unite Egypt and Rome into a mighty empire. She wanted him to stand as a symbol of strength and unity. Their happiness, however, did not last. Many people in Rome disliked the idea of Caesar growing so close to a foreign queen. They whispered that Cleopatra was trying to control Rome through him. Some even called her a dangerous temptress. Caesar eventually decided to return to Rome, but he did not leave Cleopatra behind. He invited her to come with him. Always bold and fearless, she agreed. She traveled to Rome with little Caesarion and a grand procession. Picture the scene: Cleopatra arriving in golden chariots, surrounded by exotic animals and elegant Egyptian servants. She wanted the Romans to see the wealth and power of Egypt with their own eyes. In Rome, she lived in a luxurious villa provided by Caesar. She attended banquets, met important leaders, and even influenced Roman fashion with her unique Egyptian style. Not everyone welcomed her. Many Roman women felt uncomfortable because Cleopatra was so different, confident, glamorous, and completely unafraid to stand out. While she was there, Cleopatra watched Caesar rise even higher. He declared himself dictator for life, giving himself complete control over Rome. Cleopatra hoped this would strengthen their alliance, but dark clouds were gathering. Many Roman senators feared Caesar's growing power and began plotting against him. In 44 BCE, the unthinkable happened. Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators inside the Roman Senate. They stabbed him to death, and the world was shocked. Cleopatra was devastated. She had lost her greatest ally and the father of her son. She knew her life was now in danger. Without Caesar's protection, many people in Rome saw her as a threat. Quickly, she gathered her servants, her son, and her treasures and fled back to Egypt. Back home, Cleopatra refused to collapse. She mourned Caesar deeply, yet she continued to rule with wisdom and courage. She strengthened her army, improved the economy, and prepared for whatever challenges lay ahead. She also protected little Caesarion carefully, teaching him politics, strategy, and the heavy responsibilities of leadership. She still dreamed that one day he would unite Egypt and Rome. Egypt remained in a dangerous position. Rome was the most powerful empire on earth, and Cleopatra knew she needed a new strong ally. She began searching for new ways to protect her country and her throne. This chapter of her life was filled with love, terrible loss, and quiet survival. She had faced one of the greatest tragedies of her life, yet she refused to surrender. Chapter 4. Cleopatra and Mark Antony. After Julius Caesar's death, Cleopatra's life took another dramatic turn. This next chapter tells of her meeting with Mark Antony, one of the most powerful leaders in Rome, and how their relationship became one of the most famous love stories in history. Rome fell into chaos after Caesar died. Powerful men fought for control of the empire. Among them were Mark Antony, Octavian, who was Caesar's adopted son, and Lepidus. Together they formed the second triumvirate to rule Rome, but they did not truly trust one another. Mark Antony was a brave soldier and a skilled leader. He was strong, handsome, confident, and charming. People admired him. He had heard stories about Cleopatra, the beautiful and intelligent queen of Egypt, but the two had never met. Antony wanted Egypt's support because the country was rich and powerful. Cleopatra, for her part, needed protection from Rome's growing strength. She knew a strong alliance with Antony could help her. One day, Antony sent a message inviting Cleopatra to meet him in Tarsus, a city in what is now modern-day Turkey. Cleopatra understood this was her chance to impress him. She planned something unforgettable. When she arrived in Tarsus, she did not come as an ordinary queen. She made a grand entrance that left everyone speechless. Cleopatra sailed on a golden ship with silver oars and purple sails. She dressed herself as the goddess Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty, and surrounded herself with servants dressed as gods and goddesses. The air was filled with the sweet scent of perfumes and flowers. When Antony saw her, he was completely amazed. He had never seen anyone like her, so confident, so intelligent, so beautiful. Cleopatra spoke to him with charm and sharp wit, and he could not look away. That meeting marked the beginning of their powerful and passionate relationship. Cleopatra invited Antony to Egypt, and he accepted. In Alexandria, they spent long days and nights together, lavish banquets, parties, and games. Cleopatra showed him the beauty of her land and its rich culture. They laughed, shared stories, and dreamed of the future. Antony fell deeply in love with her, and she fell in love with him too. Together they imagined creating a great empire that would rule both Rome and Egypt. Cleopatra believed that with Antony beside her, she could protect her country and make it stronger than ever. Their relationship was about more than love. It was also about politics. Antony needed Cleopatra's wealth and resources for his military campaigns. Cleopatra needed Antony's power to shield Egypt. They both understood they were stronger together. Their love grew, and they had 3 children: a son named Alexander Helios, a daughter named Cleopatra Selene, and another son named Ptolemy Philadelphus. Cleopatra was proud of her family and believed her children would one day rule a vast empire. Not everyone shared their happiness. In Rome, Antony's close relationship with Cleopatra angered many people, especially Octavian. Octavian saw Cleopatra as a dangerous threat. He began spreading rumors that she had bewitched Antony with her beauty and charms. Antony was already married to Octavian's sister, Octavia, yet he chose to stay with Cleopatra. This decision created deep tension between the two men, and their rivalry grew stronger and stronger. Eventually, the tension exploded into war. Octavian declared Cleopatra and Antony enemies of Rome and sent his army against them. Cleopatra and Antony prepared for battle, knowing that everything they had built was now at risk. Chapter 5. The Fall of Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Cleopatra and Mark Antony stood ready to fight for their love, their dreams, and their kingdoms. They faced their greatest enemy, Octavian, with courage. Yet their final chapter would be filled with betrayal, heartbreak, and a dignity that would inspire people for centuries. Octavian was determined to destroy them. He wanted complete control of Egypt and to stop Antony from gaining more power. His army was strong, disciplined, and well prepared. Cleopatra and Antony refused to surrender. They decided to face Octavian in a great naval battle known as the Battle of Actium. It took place in 31 BCE near the coast of Greece. Cleopatra brought her Egyptian fleet. Antony brought his Roman forces. Together they believed they could win. On the day of the battle, the sea was filled with ships, soldiers, and weapons. Cleopatra and Antony fought bravely, but Octavian's forces were too strong. Suddenly, something unexpected happened. Cleopatra's ship turned and sailed away. Many believe she retreated to protect her fleet and herself. Antony, however, misunderstood. He thought she had betrayed him. Heartbroken and confused, his forces began to fall apart. Octavian's army defeated them, and Antony returned to Egypt devastated. When they met again, Cleopatra explained everything. She had not betrayed him. She had only wanted to save their lives. Antony believed her, and their love remained strong. Still, they knew their enemies were closing in. Octavian's army followed them to Egypt. Cleopatra and Antony tried to defend Alexandria, but they were badly outnumbered. They realized they could not win the war, yet they were determined to stay together until the very end. Antony fought bravely in one last battle, but his army was defeated. Heartbroken and believing Cleopatra was already dead, he fell on his own sword. As he lay dying, news arrived that Cleopatra was still alive. His servants carried him to her hiding place. The two lovers shared their final moments together. Antony died in Cleopatra's arms, leaving her alone to face what came next. Cleopatra knew Octavian would soon capture her. She refused to let him parade her through the streets of Rome as a defeated prisoner. She was a woman of pride and dignity. She decided to take control of her own fate. In her final moments, Cleopatra dressed in her royal robes and crown. She surrounded herself with the treasures and symbols of her reign. According to legend, she arranged for a poisonous snake, an asp, to be brought to her. She allowed the snake to bite her, ending her life on her own terms. When Octavian arrived, he found Cleopatra lying peacefully in her royal chamber. He was shocked, yet also impressed by her courage. Cleopatra's death marked the end of the independent Egyptian kingdom. Octavian took control of Egypt, and it became part of the Roman Empire. But Cleopatra's story did not truly end there. Her life and her love with Antony became legendary. People around the world continue to admire her intelligence, her bravery, and her determination. She was not only a queen. She was a symbol of strength, resilience, and courage. Cleopatra's story teaches us that even when the challenges feel impossible, we can still stand strong and fight for what we believe in. She never gave up on her dreams or her country. She showed the world that women can be powerful leaders, thinkers, and warriors. Her life may have ended in tragedy, yet her legacy lives on forever. Cleopatra reminds us to never give up, to believe in ourselves, and to take control of our own destiny. She proved that even in the darkest moments we can face our challenges with courage and dignity. So, my friends, let Cleopatra's story inspire you. Be strong, dream big, never let fear stop you. Her life was filled with struggles, but it was also filled with love, hope, and greatness. Be like Cleopatra, bold, fearless, and unforgettable. What did you think of this incredible journey? Isn't Cleopatra's story one of the most inspiring tales in history? Let her life remind you that no matter how hard life becomes, you have the power to rise above it.